resources, key connections at the state and national level, workshops, and online and in-person support that equips us to help grow Ocean State entrepreneurs reach the next level of growth. And I'm just going to take this moment to like toot our horn a little bit. We have an incredible group of counselors here. So no matter what stage you are in your business or what needs you have, I do encourage you to reach out to Elena. She can connect you with the appropriate person. We have an incredible group of very talented people that work here. So just want to brag on us a little bit. So today we're going to talk about Google Analytics. Does anybody here have Google Analytics set up? Can I get like a show of hands or like something in the chat? How familiar is everybody with Google Analytics? I see some hand raises, awesome. So this is going to cover the newest rollout of Google Analytics 4. Google is phasing out the universal analytics tagging, and this is to be able to incorporate tracking across websites and apps. Apps have been on the rise over the past 10 years. Mostly 3 to 5 years, there's been an exponential growth of app users. So what Google has now transitioned to is what they're calling GA4, which is Google Analytics 4, and it covers websites and apps on both Android and iOS. All right, so let's get started. What is Google Analytics? This is a free tool to measure your advertising return on investment, as well as track your flash, video, social networking, your applications, your email, the success of your emails. Literally every single thing, every component of your business can be tracked through Google Analytics. And it's a free tool, and it allows you to analyze everything in one place. And you can better understand the user behavior. And so you can evaluate performance and make decisions about your marketing, your content, your products, and your sales by being able to access all of this data for you to better understand what's going on with your website. Why do you need Google Analytics? Well, you can't improve, scale, or grow what you can't measure. If you don't know what's currently working or how people are behaving on your site, it's hard to improve or make changes. And Google Analytics is free, and you're able to track over 200 metrics. And this free tool tracks everything from acquisition to conversion. Like literally every step that someone takes on your website can be tracked. And then with that data, you can make decisions on how you'd like to make changes to your website, the types of content, how frequently you email. You're able to track everything and make the best decisions for how to grow your business. What can you measure? I said there's over 200 metrics, and there are. The most common ones are your traffic sources, demographics, the average time on page. This is how long somebody's spending on your website. You're able to track the number of page views. That's how many pages on your website are users viewing. And this can vary. If you have a very expansive website that has tons of pages, this could be good information for you to understand how people are behaving. The entrances, how people are entering your site. Are they finding you through direct traffic? Are they finding you through organic? Are you getting traffic through your email or through your social media? You're also able to track devices, keywords, bounce rate by channel, user session, literally every component about your business you're able to track. So let's get started. So the first thing I should say is you need a Gmail account to get started. This is a Gmail. I'll make an edit on that. So you 100% need a Gmail account to get started. So the reason for this is Google Analytics does some type of authentication of its users, and it uses its own email platform to be able to do this. Now, this could also be a G Suite account if you have a Gmail account or a Google Mail, any type of Google email property you're able to use. And this is free to do. So if you don't have this set up yet, I encourage you to get this going. So when you first log into the platform, you're going to be landing on this page, and there is a link to this in the resources slide where you could go over and just click right there. And the first thing you want to do is hit that blue button that says start for free. And then it's going to bring you to another page that says welcome to Google Analytics. And then in order to get going, you have to hit start measuring. And this is where it starts to prompt you step by step. If you've ever done a Google My Business listing, you're able to be prompted and walk through every step of the process. So when you name your account, make sure it's something, either your business name, something that you will very easily understand what is in that property, because you can have up to 99 properties in Google Analytics. So if you were tracking like regional websites, if you were a national company and you had like, for example, a franchise who had multiple locations, or if you had, you know, different applications or website experiences for somebody on the West Coast versus East Coast. Also, if you have a landing page builder or additional websites, you can have them all under the same analytics account, but with different properties. For the blue boxes, I like to check them all off. I like to get as much data as I can. The most important one, I think, is the first two with the Google Signal and benchmarking. That way, when you put in your information, Google will benchmark you against similar industries and give you some data on how you're performing against your competitors. I also like to have the access for technical support, because if you need to reach out to the help team to get anything taken care of and you don't have this checked off, they're not going to be able to help you, or they will, but you'll have to go through additional steps to give them access. So if you just check these all off in the beginning, if you ever come to a point where you need to reach out to a Google specialist, they'll be able to give you the technical and account support. So then you set up your property. Like I said, you're able to have multiple properties, and there's a couple things I want to make sure I name right here that I call out. One is when you're choosing your reporting time zone, you could never change this. So be vigilant when you're creating your property. If you are measuring something on the East Coast time, please be sure that you select the proper time zone, because like I said, once that property is created, your time zone and your currency can never be changed. You'll have to create an additional property. And if you have a long history with the property, it can be inconvenient to have to restart. And then just hit next. And then you're gonna be prompted to give some basic information about your business. You can select your industry, and this will provide some of the benchmarking where you're able to pick what industry you're in, and Google will provide benchmarking based on other companies who have Google Analytics set up in the similar industry. It'll let you know how you're doing comparatively. Pick your business size, and then how do you intend to use Google Analytics? Again, I like to check everything because I just want to be included in all data points so I can get the best overview of my business. Then this is going to have you agree to its terms of service. You select your country, and then you agree. And I will say, if you do not accept their terms of service, obviously you're not going to be able to use Google Analytics. So there is another checkbox under here. So make sure they're both checked off and just hit submit. And then choose your level of communication. I personally uncheck all of these just because I don't like to have my inbox flooded with emails. And I also use Google Analytics on several clients. So I don't need them to constantly email me about feature announcements and feedback and all of that, because I'm proficient in Google Analytics. But if you're new to Google Analytics, I encourage you to opt into some of these, at least until you get the hang of it, until you understand what things are going on. And then they do email quite a lot. So it can be overwhelming in the beginning, but it's nice to get all of those performance suggestions. And when they roll out new features and enhancement, they'll send you an email telling you how to opt into those. And then it'll also give you some insight on some of the pilot programs that they're running in Google Analytics. So a lot of times, sometimes in the back end of your account, you'll see something in beta testing, you'll get an announcement here. So it really is up to how frequently you would like to receive this communication. But if you're just getting started with Google Analytics, I encourage you to opt into everything and really dive in deep. I will also take this opportunity to say that Google offers a free certification on Google Analytics. It's free to anyone, and it really is a deep dive into Google Analytics. And I think it's a six video series course, and there is a test at the end if you want it to test out, but you don't have to. But just going through those videos and doing the learning can be very helpful. So then you have to set up your data stream. And this is basically where you pick your source of data. So when you log into Google Analytics, this is what you're going to see if you haven't set up any sources of data. So here is where you want to pick if you want to track something from a website or an app. And you just pick whichever one you got, and then it'll walk you through the process again. And when you go in and set up your web stream, I picked web just for this. You put in your website, your URL, and then you name it, and then you click on all of the different measurements you'd like to participate in. And again, I click on everything because I would love to get as much information as I can on all of these different things. So if you have a smaller website and maybe you don't have people scrolling through a lot of things, I would still opt into this because as you grow your website, it's easier to go in and just have all that information available than to go and find it in the settings, because Google does move things around quite frequently, to the point that I went in and redid this entire process for screen grabs because the last time I did this, the backend was completely different. So they are always moving things. So it's easier to do it now and then not have to worry about it in the future. Once you pick everything that you'd like for enhanced measurement, you can hit create stream. And if you don't want to opt into any of the enhanced measurement, this little blue button right here, you just toggle it and it'll opt you out of everything. But really, if you're going to use Google Analytics, it's best to use it in its full capability. This is where a lot of people get a little bit like they kind of lose their way. It's picking a way to tag your site. Google will give you a piece of code to add to your site. If you use Google Tag Manager, it's super easy to set up. You just go in, you link your account, and then you just drop down and select Google Analytics and you enter your code. But there is a piece of code that you're going to have to add to the back end of your website. So what you do is you take that code and you just add it, and it'll tell you each place. So if you click on this top one, the global site tag, that'll pop this out, and this is the code you need to add to your website. In this space right here is everybody's unique Google Analytics code, so it's unique to your site, so you don't have to worry about anybody else having access to your code. This is just an additional data layer that you have to put on your website in order for Google Analytics to receive the data for you to analyze. So before I move on to installing the code, I want to take a little pause right here and see if anyone has a video question.
Hi, how
Hi.
are you? My name is Jean. I have a question. Do you have will you be sharing this video by the end?
Yeah, so you'll receive this entire presentation, the slide deck and the video recording. And on the last slide, I have links to all of the resources to get you through this process.
So am I going to get it from the email or from the last slide?
Hi, you'll be receiving this via email. I will send out to all the attendees the recording, the slides, and the resources.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And then for those of you, I don't know if you are very familiar with Zoom, but there's a chat box. So if you hover your mouse over the presentation, you could see going on right now, there will be a little chat. So if you click that, there actually are a couple questions in there. My email's in there. And Amanda, I could read some of the questions to you if you'd like. Also, Brandy and Michael, you two had the question. So if you want to unmute yourselves and ask them, you can, or I can read them, whatever is easier for everyone.
I'm coming a little bit late. Would you mind post your email to on the chat again, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
So Brandy's question was first. And this one was, for websites, do you have to switch your domain to Google?
No. So you just need a Google email account to be able to access Google Analytics. And that includes G Suite. So if you use G Suite to have like Amanda at amandabass.com through G Suite, you can still use Google Analytics through that email.
Thank you, Amanda.
Awesome. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for your question, Brandy. Okay, and now we have from Michael, is a property best made for each type of marketing asset or each product/program?
No, so each property is more for, it's like more of a view. So I like to have a master view where it's untouched, all of the data is collecting, and then I create a subsequent property, which is just the main property, and I like to track everything through there. So you could have multiple properties. I recommend you have no less than 2, like that main untouched property and then the additional. And I will go through later in this presentation on how to look at the property and get all of your data. So you don't need one for each channel. It's more for like if you have multiple websites, or if you have a website and application, or if your blog is independent from your website, it's more for that type of tracking.
Michael, I hope that answered your question for you. Perfect. And then from Steven, is Google the only search engine that offers this service?
Well, you can track other properties in Google. For example, you can track Yahoo and you can track Bing within Google Analytics. Adobe Analytics is another one, but that's a paid analytics software. So there are other softwares out there where you can do a comprehensive tracking of your website, but Google Analytics is the most comprehensive and the only free one. Did I answer your question? All right, great.
Yep.
All right, we'll move on to installing your code. So each website is going to have a different place where you install the code. All you have to remember is you need to take that Google Analytics ID or the full piece of code depending on the backend. So when you are in WordPress, for example, you go into the appearance and then your theme editor. And then in the theme header is where you want to copy and place that piece of code. So right after this head, you want to hit enter and then enter that Google Analytics code right here. For Shopify, they make it a little bit easier. They just have a place for it under their preferences. So if you go to your online store and open preferences, there'll be a section for your Google Analytics and you just paste the theme there. And then you hit save and it'll take care of it for you. The same with Squarespace, except instead of having the full code, all you need to do is get the number. So each piece of analytics code has a number in it. You just have to take out that account number and put it in here and it'll take care of it for you. So you don't even need the full piece of code. In GoDaddy, it's very similar to Squarespace. You go into your website and marketing, and when you manage your site, you open up the settings, and then you just put in that ID code in Google Analytics, and it'll take care of it for you. These are all active links for you to see how to take this step by step in case you get stuck. So if you have a GoDaddy site that you'd like to put Google Analytics into, on this slide, if you click on any of these, you can see it opens up. And it'll walk you through each step. Unfortunately, Wix is not Google Analytics 4 compatible. They're working on it on the back end. If you want to use Google Analytics with a Wix site, there's a comprehensive step-by-step guide here to be able to do that. It just is a little trickier. You have to revert back to the old universal tracking code, and then you're able to integrate it with Google Analytics. Any questions or any other sites that you use for your website builder that I could probably provide some guidance on where to add the code? I'm happy to answer any of those questions.
I have a quick question, and it might, to be honest, I haven't looked back into it in a little bit, so I don't even know how to word this question. But when I have my company uses Squarespace, and when I went to put in the code, it wasn't compatible. Like it wasn't the however many digits and number. It didn't line up, and I couldn't find the right code, but it seemed like I was doing it correctly. And so I guess my quick question is that something that has happened where they like upgraded and maybe now if I tried, it should be all set up or anything like that?
How long ago did you set up Google Analytics?
It was probably like 2 months ago.
So you probably were prompted through the Google Analytics 4 Did that back end of what I just went through and how to set up, did that look familiar?
Yeah, it looked familiar. And then, but just like the code that Google Analytics was giving me didn't line up when I put it into Squarespace.
Yeah, so in October, I believe it was, Google released the Google Analytics 4, and the first few months they allowed you the option to maintain the Universal Analytics code or go with Google Analytics 4. Now they're pushing everybody towards Google Analytics 4.
Okay.
So I'm guessing your Squarespace is asking for a code that begins with UA.
Yes, I think so.
Yep, so the UA dash, that's the older code, and I can show you where to find that. If you reach out to Elena, she can connect us and I can get you that resource, but it's just in the settings and you just go through and look at the properties, but I can help you find that and get you linked up on the back end.
Oh, thank you. That would be awesome. Thanks so much.
They don't like to make it easy. It's like they're changing things and then not everything is compatible. So, but I could guide you.
Awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right. So now we're going to walk through creating a property. And a property is the website, mobile application, or blog, your app, everything we talked about earlier. That is all associated with your unique tracking ID, but you can have more than one property. So the way it works, like we said, if you had, for example, an international site and you wanted to segment your traffic by US versus international, you could have a different property for US visitors versus international visitors. Or if you had a website that served people in like 5 different countries, you could have a property for each different country. And it's just a way to filter out that data. So when you're making decisions, you're not seeing all the data that might not necessarily affect the decision. For example, if you have a company in 3 countries, and you're looking at all the data overall, it's nice to see things like your overall revenue generated. But if the user behavior is different in each of those countries, it's nice to segment them out so you can make decisions about your strategy to grow each country differently. So you just go in and create property. You hit the little tab, and then it'll ask you the same set of questions it asked you the last time. So you enter in, and this example here, I did Google landing pages because I often use like a lead page builder, like Lead Pages or ClickFunnels to build landing pages for different experiences. And I like to see how that traffic behaves versus like the main website. Again, you wanna make sure you check your time zone and your currency because these are forever. And while it's not a big deal if you don't have a ton of traffic or if you're just setting this up, but if you have longevity with the account and then you have to go and change this, it can be a bit of a pain in the butt because you don't get that data in retrospect. So whenever you place the code on your page and you begin these properties, that's when you begin tracking. You can't look at history on your site before the code was placed. Again, it's going to ask you to answer your industry, your size of your company. And I, again, check all of those boxes. I want to get access to as much data as possible. And then we work through setting up events. I know that was kind of fast, but it really does walk you through each of the steps. It just prompts you. And you can create up to 99 properties. So I don't encourage you to create 99 unless you need them because it will segment all of that traffic and you'll be looking at, 50 data points instead of just one. And if you're not sure how many properties your business needs, you can reach out to Elena and she can connect us. Any questions on properties? All right. So what's an event? An event is user interaction with your content that you can measure independently from a web page or screen load. So basically, if you are tracking on Google Analytics, somebody who visits your site, that's called a user and a session. But what if you wanted to track, what if you offered like a free downloadable file as lead generation and you wanted to track how many people are downloading that file? Or if you wanted to track how many people are clicking on a specific link on your website. If you have a few call to actions on a page and you want to track the success of each of those, You could do that with an event. Or if you have a form submission where you're having somebody give you information in exchange for like a phone call or to schedule a strategy session, you can also make an event for your submissions. Video plays. So I want you to think about them in terms of like conversions, like how would you like to measure conversions on your site? Conversions aren't always sales. Sometimes conversions can be how many people opt into an email campaign where you're sending them to your list to receive frequent communication. So think of an event as all of these micro conversions that you'd like to track to understand the user behavior of your site. So when you're creating an event, you just log into the site and then you just hit create event. And then you are going to create a custom event. You hit the blue button for create. And then they make it easy for you. You don't have to do any special coding. When you go to type in your custom event name, it'll give you a drop down of all of the different things that you can track. There are things outside of this you can track if you have access to someone who can code and put special tags on your site. If you need more than this, I encourage you to look into Google Tag Manager. They make tagging and tracking very easy. So if you see something here that doesn't look like it fits your needs, you are able to do it custom coding or Google Tag Manager. All right, before you move on, I'll see if we have any questions. All right. Finding your data. So now you set everything up. What do you do with it and where do you find it? So when you log into the home page of your Google Analytics account, this is a live view. So you'll be able to see at any given time how many active users are on your site right now, what's the revenue you generated, your conversion rate, and the number of sessions. Now this little arrow down here is last 7 days. You can change that to 14 days, 30 days, last month, last year. You can set any date you want there. So if you wanted to look at your website, you know, even yesterday, if you just wanted to look at the day before, if you wanted to look at the last 10 days, you just hit that drop down and it'll give you all of the data for each, the user revenue conversion session and the active users right now. Google Analytics also has a pretty cool search function where if you're not able to find what you're looking for, if you type it in right here, their example is top countries by users, you're able to type in there and they have a pretty comprehensive list of things you can find and it'll direct you to where you need to go. So you don't need to master this back end, but when you first log in, this is what you're going to see. This is the home. So my favorite place to look when I'm looking for data is my source medium. And the reason for that is I want to see where the traffic is coming from so that way I can make some decisions on my content, my email, my lead generation. So if you're in that home page, let's go back. So on this home page, if you go down to acquisition, that will bring you here and it'll pop up and then all traffic and then source medium. And it'll give you all of your source medium. So an example is right here where it'll tell you every place traffic came from on your site. It'll give you how many sessions were on your site. It'll give you what percent of those are new sessions. And this is really important to measure because you constantly want to have new eyes on your website. So if you're noticing that your new sessions are low, you might want to think about creating some lead generation campaigns or ways to acquire new traffic. New users, it breaks it down to you as a number, not just a percent. And then it'll give you your bounce rate. And that's how many people land on your page and if they're staying on your page or if they're bouncing. The pages per session tells you how many pages on your website their user viewed and how much time they spent on their site. So if we look at line 1, that's direct traffic, and that's when people are typing www.yourdomain.com. That's direct traffic. So that people who came in from direct are on average viewing 3.78 pages and spending 2.5 minutes on your page. And you have a conversion rate of 1.76 and you got 55 transactions and you generated $2,300, $2,371 from your direct traffic. And then you're able to analyze each source medium so you could see what's working best for you. So you're able to make decisions and say, okay, so my direct traffic is great. So that means I have some brand recognition. But my referral traffic is looking really good, but the number of transactions is a little bit lower. So maybe we need to do some work there. Or if you're looking at your email list and saying, we're getting really great results from our email. We made $4,400 from our email. So that just gives you an overview of every channel by source medium. So you could see how many sessions you're getting. That means how many people are coming to your site from that channel, how much they're spending on your site, your transactions, and you can make decisions based on content, based on positioning, based on lead generation. And really see what's working and what's not. And then you can also look at data in any time frame you want. You can do year over year, week over week. There's all different ways to analyze the data. So how do you understand this? But before we do that, let me see if I have any questions. I cannot see the chat. So if there is anything in the chat.
Amanda, yeah, there's a question.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but it looks really pretty. But their question was, does this count the times you look up your own page?
It does, and you can exclude your IP, so it's not counting your own traffic, but it counts every single visit to every page on your site at all times. So if you're sitting at home looking at your own page, 20 times a day, you're going to see your sessions in there. And you could look at your sessions by geography. So if you look at the geography section of the report, you can see like your own self there, but you can also exclude your IP address. So that way you're not tainting your data. Thank you.
Perfect. That was a great question. Thank you. I do that a lot too. I notice I'll go on my website and I'm like, but
Yeah.
it's influenced by me for sure. Are there any other questions? Anytime you have other ones, just put them right in the chat. And as you can see, Amanda frequently stops. So thank you.
So understanding your data. So the source is the origin of your traffic, such as your search engine, your Google, your domain, and the medium is the category of the source. So that can be organic, it can be direct, cost per click, referral, email. And when you combine these dimensions, you're able just to get a higher level overview of what's working and what's not, and it bunches it together for you so you can really understand. So here's an example, and I whited out some of it just for privacy, but you could see the types of source medium. So direct is the number one. Google CPC is always cost per click, and this is paid advertisement. And then Google organic, and then there's also, you can track Bing organic and Yahoo organic. Those tend to be like a higher age demographic. So if you serve a population of 50 plus, you're likely going to see more Yahoo and Bing than some companies who serve like a younger demographic. Most people's default search engine is Google, but there are some segments of the population who do use Yahoo and Bing. And then you can see here, number 7, we have Bing. And then link in bio, that is an Instagram link. So sometimes it does get a little bit weird because you can see line 8 is also Instagram social, but Google does see the link in bio as referral traffic because they're clicking through that site to get, so that site is a link that leads you to the site. It's not a direct click to your site. So in conclusion, if you are serious about growing your business, I highly recommend getting Google Analytics set up. It's free. It's incredible. The amount of information you can get in there in your custom reports, all of the metrics you can track. It really is so powerful. I encourage you to take some time to get to know how your users behaving on your site so you could best serve them. At the end of the day, this is always about providing exceptional service to your clients and meeting their needs. And when you best understand their needs through their user behavior, you're able to serve them. So I encourage you all to get some Google Analytics in your business life. And this is the list of resources. They're all clickable links, so you could go and just read through. If any of these were a little bit too brief, you can just go through and get a little bit more information. And like I said, if you have any questions or need a little one-to-one help, just reach out to Elena and she can connect us. Any questions?
Thank you, Amanda. And like she said, are there any other questions? You can unmute yourselves or place it right in the chat.
I have a question.
Mhm.